All right. I'm rolling up my sleeves here, Ed. It's time to get ready for this. The playoffs are fast upon us. The last week of the regular season. This is week 10 already.
It is.
Some of our teams, 2 out of 3, have already clinched the section titles in the Lancaster 11 League. Who are they, and who's out there yet?
Wilson clinched last week with a win over Penn Manor, comeback win. They were down 14-0, had to come back to win.
Yeah.
And Donegal has clinched Section 3.
The one that's out there, Manheim Central, just a tie right now or something?
Yeah, they clinched a tie last week with their win over Conestoga Valley, and they are at Solanco this week.
So they've got their section title wrapped up as well. They've had 3 mercy rules in a row now, too. I think the thing I'm worried about as much for the Barons is how they're going to be ready for the playoffs, considering their starters have come out basically by halftime. I wonder if that's going to be a concern for them at all. We'll see. Who's in contention? We have how many? Was it 14 teams are still in the mix here?
Yeah, we have 14 teams still in the playoff picture. 14 LL teams still in the playoff picture. 6 have clinched.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So who's clinched?
In Quad A, Wilson has clinched. Penn Manor has clinched, and Hempfield has clinched. And in AAA, Manheim Central, Cocalico, and Lancaster Catholic have clinched.
Lancaster Catholic. Let me jump. 4-6 record right now, right? Or
they're
3 and
6.
Okay, 3 and 6.
Yeah.
I'm saying 4 and 6 because they're going to.
They played McCaskey this week.
I'm sorry, McCaskey hasn't had a win on the year. Offense is struggling. Catholic's going to be 4 and 6 and make the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's because they play an entirely Quad A schedule, so that has helped them at this point in the season.
So who's on the bubble right now?
Well, we've got several teams on the bubble. In Quad A, Manheim Township is 14th, and that game is interesting because they're at Hempfield. So both teams, it's kind of like a playoff game a week early for those 2 clubs. Lebanon.
Hold on a second. Can Hempfield's seeding change at all? They're in. They clinched their spot in the playoffs, but can their seed change at all?
They could move up because Township's another Quad A team. So if they beat them, they'll get the points. And if teams in front of them lose, they can jump up a few spots. So they can definitely help their playoff positioning this week.
Okay, go ahead.
And Lebanon, which beat LS last week in a shootout.
Big win.
Yeah, they're 16th in a 16-team field.
Okay.
So, if they win this week, they could clinch, and which would set up a LL game in the first round, Lebanon at Wilson, which would be interesting.
Wilson's defense is not as good as some other years. And Lebanon's a good offensive team, but doesn't play much defense.
They have a stud quarterback in Mark Piles. He's torched the league for most of the way, except for the games against Central and Cocalico. So he's a threat.
What else you got?
In AAA, we've got 3 bubble teams. Lampeter Strasburg dropped to 15th with their loss. Garden Spot is 18th. Donegal is in the somewhat unique situation of having clinched a section title and maybe, being the 19th seed in AAA, not making the postseason. That's pretty unique.
And they play who this weekend?
Donegal's at Anvil, and Anvil is a team on the playoff bubble in AA. They're 8th in an 8-team field. So, again, we have 2 teams here. Basically, their playoffs start this week.
Right, but even if Donegal wins, they're playing a team that's AA. Those points don't really help you a lot when you're trying to get up a AAA. Yeah. Donegal in the future probably needs to move up a section and be in Section 2, where they'll be playing more teams of a caliber that's going to give them the points they need come postseason time.
Or else either that or load up in the preseason with your first 3 preseason games.
True.
And try to beat some AAA teams and get their points there.
True, good point. What else you got?
Also in AA, Pequay Valley is 9th. So they're
in an 18 field.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're 1 spot removed. And again, 2 more teams in the playoff position. They play Garden Spot this week. So, Garden Spot's fighting to get in AAA. Pequay's fighting to get in AA. For these 2 teams, again, the playoffs start this week.
And Pequay Valley's also fighting for a 500 record or chance to be
they
the
can't
best
get
record
that now.
ever now. They can't
get to 500 now, but they can make the playoffs.
That's
maybe
for a team that's never been there before. That's something. That's a great year.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, anytime you can make the playoffs. Yeah. It helps your season.
But for Garden Spot, they want to win the game, but those points might not help them because it's not a high enough team. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they need to really look at the sections a little bit better for that to help these teams out. What else?
We got Columbia in single A now. Their losing streak has dropped them to. They were 4th in the 14 field. Now they're 6th. They're on the outside looking in. Not a good spot for them. Columbia is probably a long shot at this point.
Okay. Anything else? We got them all?
I think we got them all.
Within that, we sort of did the LL playoff picture this week as well, and there's some good matchups. The best matchup's probably going to be going, if you want to catch a football game, go to Hempfield to see Bannock Township
the Township Hempfield game. That's the game I'll be at. And again, not to be redundant, but just to reiterate, again, for these two teams, the playoffs, the calendar says next week. It basically starts this week for these clubs.
One more thing. Manham Central is third in districts, but second in the state right now?
They've jumped to third with McDevitt's loss to Cedar Cliff. So Central has jumped to third in AAA, but they remain number 2 in the district rankings behind McDevitt.
Interesting.
Yeah.